Good evening. We're talking about close calls, so to appreciate the precariousness of my own personal decision making, we're going to have to go back 45 years. We're going to go back and we're going to meet a high school girl named A. A was very pretty. She was nominated homecoming queen. A was very popular. At the time, she had two boyfriends, one in high school and one in college. And yours truly, your narrator, fell head over heels for A and decided he was going to court her. Now, I know what some of you think, court, what's that, like an old-timer's word for stalk? No. Court, or courting, is the practice of just being so exceptionally nice to someone that they can't help but notice you. And in fact, they'll like you in return. Hey, it's Tom. Listen, at today's student council meeting, you said a dozen times you had to get over to the mall to get some shopping done. Hey, I got to get to the mall myself. I got a ton of shopping. That's a clear lie. So, listen, you live right off the expressway. Why don't I just stop by, pick you up, and we can go over and get our shopping done together? Oh, Tom, you're so nice. My boyfriend never takes me shopping. Oh, would you have room in your car for a couple of my girlfriends? No problem, man. I got my dad's station wagon. Now, we had about a, I'd say 5-year relationship. And it wasn't always easy. And several times I almost bailed, but I didn't. There was a flaw in my technique. Our 21st century social scientists have actually tagged it. You see, I became infected and was quarantined in what we now know as the friendship zone. So it took me well over a year to get out of that. At the culmination of my 5 years, I proposed to A. She accepted. We married and moved to my job in Harrisburg. Then one night, about 6 months later, A was particularly quiet and sullen at the dinner table. I said, A, what's the matter? She says, I'm just not that happy. I said, A, what can I do to make you happy? Well, you can take your things and move out. But leave your albums. Audience, albums were huge in the 20th century. So I quit my job. I moved into a small rental house in South Jersey, and I settled into a rather comfortable lifestyle. Every Saturday night, I enjoyed an evening of foosball, beer, and diners. And any of my friends that could get away from their girlfriends or wives were more than welcome to join me. About 9 months later, I get a call from my sister, N. She's a senior at a liberal arts college up in North Jersey. N calls me and says, listen, Tom, I'm going to throw a big St. Patty's Day bash, and I want you to come. I said, oh, when will it be? She goes, next Saturday. Audience, Saturday's foosball night. Now I had to think about this. Did I want to give up a night of foosball to hang out with my dorky sister and her dweeby college friends? I mean, can you imagine the night? Get cornered by some drunk guy that wants to talk about the religious underpinnings in Tolkien's Lord of the Rings? Or worse yet, some liberal arts girlfriend? No, really, I prefer to be called a vagino-American. Anyway, I went, audience. I had a great time. My sister was great. Her girlfriends were great. Everyone was great. I met two really nice girls. I met L. She was a tall, striking brunette. She was there with her longtime boyfriend. I met P. She was a cute blonde. She didn't have anybody there, so I spent a good part of the evening just talking to her. And you know what, audience? I decided maybe I should try to date again. Now, for you singles in the 21st century, you don't know how good you have it. Everybody has a smartphone. Call, text, instant message, social media apps. What I had was a piece of scrap paper with the phone number to the pay phone in the hallway outside of P's dorm. P didn't have a phone in her dorm. And I called, I could not get through to P, so I had an idea. I called my sister Ann. I said, listen, Ann, I'm going to have a big Memorial Day barbecue, and I want you and your boyfriend to come. And if you see P, could you mention it to her? She calls me back and she says, Tom, P's busy. She can't make it. But do you remember L? Oh, sure, I remember L, the tall, pretty brunette with the rock and roll boyfriend. Sure, I remember. Well, she has no plan, so I'm going to bring her along. Is that okay? I said, absolutely. In fact, I insist upon it. Now, audience, let me interrupt my own story for just a second or two. At that young point in my life, I was pretty confident of two guiding principles in life. Number one, if I ever find myself driving alone on a dark, desolate road, late at night, by myself, I'm not going to get out of my car to help a bunch of circus clowns look for their little lost puppy right in those woods over there. And I'm not going to get involved with any girls that have boyfriends. So the day of the barbecue, the three of them came. My sister and her boyfriend immediately ran out and joined the rest of the crowd. But Elle stayed back and talked with me. Elle was very charming. She was very nice. She was very pretty. She had an absolutely stunning sundress on. And she's very smart. You know, Tom, if you cut those onions under running water, your eyes won't tear. Hell, I know that. Audience, I had no friggin' idea. First time I ever heard it. So at one point, my sister comes up to me and says, well, listen, we got to get going. We got to get Elle back to the train station. I go, really? Well, I'm not done talking to Elle yet. So my mind's racing with ideas. What am I going to do? What am I going to say? Listen, Elle, if you can find this payphone and get me this phone number, maybe I can call you sometime. Or listen, Elle, if you and John Bon Jovi were to go separate ways, if you could let my sister Ann know, that would be great. Everything sounded lame. And as I sat across from her, trying to think what to say next, my buddies were calling out to me. Hey, Tom, we need some more potato chips back here. Hey, Tom, how about we tap that second keg? My mind was racing. I didn't know what to say or what to do. Suddenly, as I looked at Elle, her legs were crossed. I noticed her sandals. Well, I noticed the sandal in particular. So without any pre-planning, totally impulsively, I reached across from the seated position. I pulled her sandal off her foot. I stood up, and I said, Elle, you're going to have to excuse me for a minute. I have to take care of my asshole friends who have magically become helpless. But I don't want to turn around and find you gone. In fact, I don't want you to leave at all. And you can't get on a train in a barefoot. It's not hygienic. It's not safe. And Elle smiled. We married a year later. We just celebrated our 35th wedding anniversary. Now, listen, audience, one epilogue moment. I know I'm over time. But I fantasize about meeting God. Because if I do want to give him thanks. And if I know God, he might just lean in and say, look, Tom, wasn't going to say anything. Maybe we can keep this between the two of us. But do you remember that night back at that barbecue party so long ago? You're a little confused that night. So you know that stunt with the sandal? Just a little bit of divine interference. Trust me, you didn't even notice. Thank you.